Nick, good to see you. We're talking about the retirement red zone, the 5 years before and the 5 years after you retire, and the 5 money moves that you should consider. So, of course, the retirement red zone, a critical time when investment decisions and market fluctuations can have a significant impact on your financial security. And of course, this is kind of out of our control, but we can plan now, Nick. What do we need to know about the red zone?
Well, the red zone is something we've talked about for 12 years, it seems. And like you said, it's the 5 years before retirement to the 5 years after retirement. And even that's changing. It's almost becoming like the 10 years before retirement to the 10 years after retirement, just because when we first talked about the retiree red zone, I mean, this was back when people would retire and they were retired for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
Now people are retiring younger and they're going 30 years into retirement. So now this retirement red zone's even bigger. But the reason we called it the red zone is it's like a football game. It's like going 80 yards and then fumbling. And I've seen that. I'm a Notre Dame fan, and I've seen that happen where they just truck all the way down to the 15-yard line. And then all of a sudden the other team does like a pick six and runs back and scores on the other end. I mean, there's nothing more disheartening than that. And so this is why teams now spend so much time practicing in that red zone.
Right.
Because they want to nail that. And so the same thing holds true with people, is they need to be planning for this retirement red zone just as much as a football team practices for the red zone in football.
Right. All right. Okay. So let's talk through those action steps. First would be define your budget and expenses, but only 40% have ever calculated what they'll need to live on in retirement.
And I see that every day. I wish that wasn't the case. And it almost seems like it's something that should be just like breathing. But what people are told is that they can live off of 60 to 80% of what they needed while they worked. That's what they're being told. And if you think about that for a second, I mean, just think about that. Can you live off of 60 to 80% of what you're bringing in right now? And most people will say no, but yet that's what they're being told. They're being told that your expenses will go down. And if you really think about that, when you retire, that's like 8 hours more a day, more time every day that you have to spend. So are you really going to be spending less? For most people, the answer is no, they're not going to be spending less. They're actually going to be having more time to spend more. So you have to look at what I call your lifestyle costs. Everybody talks about budget. I call it lifestyle. What does that lifestyle cost you to do what you want to do? And the easiest way to do that, Aaron, is to look at what you had coming in last month. So let's say that you had, $8,000 of income coming into your bank account last month. And then you look last month and you're like, well, my bank account this month is the same as it was last month. Well, that just tells you that $8,000 that came in got spent. That's how much your lifestyle costs. You don't need to do fancy spreadsheets or anything. Those are definitely helpful. But this is an easy way to figure out, what is your lifestyle that you actually lead? What does that actually cost you? And you have to know what that lifestyle is. That is what we call your outflow. The outflow that goes out in retirement, what is going out the door, that's your outflow. And everybody wants to maintain a lifestyle. You don't want to be a miser or a hermit that doesn't do anything.
No, you want to enjoy your hard-earned retirement.
Exactly.
So next, define your sources of guaranteed income.
Yeah, so this is the guaranteed income, that's your inflow. So if your lifestyle cost is your outflow, that is your inflow. And there's two ways to look at this. What is your paycheck and what is your playcheck? So your paycheck income is, think about paycheck income as what you lived on while you worked. That is the income that is coming in. That's dependable, it's reliable, it's consistent. You know what's happening. And so in retirement, your paycheck income is like Social Security, a pension if you have one. Maybe you've created your own private pension, and that's a paycheck income that that's coming in. The other side of that, though, Aaron, is your playcheck income. That is like income from the market, the stock market. Maybe it's dividends. It's playcheck because the market has to be doing something for you to be getting that income. And not all dividends happen all the time. Some people think, oh, dividends, that's guaranteed income. It's not, because dividends can actually go away too, or can be cut. So you have this difference between paycheck income and playcheck income. Paycheck income is like mailbox money. It's coming in. And so the difference that people need to look at is, what is your outflow to maintain your lifestyle, and what's coming in, what's the inflow coming in to cover that, to cover those outflows. Well, whatever the difference is in between, that is where you get your gap.
Right, exactly. And then that brings us to step number 3. When you know what's going out and whatever's coming in, whatever that discrepancy is, the retirement gap, Nick, and you help people build an income plan to bridge the gap.
Well, and there's 4 key parts to a solid income plan to bridge that gap, like you said. Number 1 is longevity. You can't ignore the fact that people are living longer. We're living past 90 and 95. We all know somebody who's in our late 90s now.
Yeah.
And so you got to make sure that your income plan plans for longevity. The second thing you got to plan for is inflation. You need to have a plan that has increasing income, because just look at the cost of everything around us. It's a lot more. You can't ignore taxes. That's the third thing. You can't ignore taxes. Uncle Sam is going to take a piece of flesh. And so if you have nothing but IRA and 401k money, 20 to 25% of your withdrawals go to Uncle Sam. He's your part owner. Now, if you have Roth money, 0% goes to Uncle Sam, and that's a different thing. But if you have an IRA, which a lot of people do, that's what's ending up happening, is they're taking those monies out and they have to send Uncle Sam a chunk of money. So you can't forget about taxes. And then the fourth thing is you got to know what accounts to withdraw from first. Is it the Roth IRAs that I withdraw from first, the IRAs, maybe the bank account? The difference in how you and which account you take withdrawals from first, the difference can add years to your savings. So the easiest way to think about this is, if you watch I went to the movie theater the other day, and Mission Impossible is coming out with yet another Mission Impossible. Of course, this is the final Mission Impossible, but I probably think that's not going to happen. But every Mission Impossible movie, what's always fascinating is the amount of planning that Ethan Hunt goes into for what they're doing to do this impossible mission. Well, he wouldn't go into a mission without a plan. And when it comes to retirement, people shouldn't go into retirement without a plan.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, speaking of part of that plan, of course, we need to optimize one of the sources of guaranteed income, that is Social Security. And Nick, you specialize in helping people determine when they should be claiming Social Security, because it's such an important decision.
I remember when we first started talking about this in the early 2000s, and people said, well, that's not financial planning. I'm like, well, if it has a dollar in front of it, it's financial planning, right? I mean, that's the truth. And when it comes to Social Security, there's 500 different ways to claim it. There's 2,000 rules for Social Security, and there's 100,000 rules in the program operating manual that oversee those 2,000 rules. So there's a lot of things going on here. And the difference, as you can see on that chart, the difference is a lot. The difference if you take Social Security at 62 versus 70. And actually keep this up here, because this is something that we talk about with people, is the rule of 25-20. So if you retire at 62, you're getting a 25% haircut on your Social Security versus if you take it at your full retirement age. Okay. And even more, it might be 25 to 30%. But here's the other thing to it. Social Security is putting out documentation right now that's telling people that by 2035, they can pay anywhere between, they can pay 80 to 83% of benefits. That means another 17 to 20% haircut. So I call this thing the 25-20 rule. What that means is if you take Social Security at 62, you're getting a 25% haircut. And then if they cut benefits in the future, another 20% haircut. So the longer that you can wait to let this grow, the better, because every year that you wait, Social Security goes up by 8%. And that can mean more in your pocket. The more that you can squeeze out of the government's pockets is is a smaller amount that you have to take out of yours, and that's a win.
And then last, it is so important, it bears repeating, even though you touched on it in the income planning, you need to consider taxes, which will be one of your biggest expenses in retirement, but you can take action now to reduce that bill by thousands in retirement.
Well, and most people have IRAs. They have 401ks, they have 403bs, maybe they have thrift savings plans. These are all pre-tax accounts. So these are really ticking tax time bombs. And so you have these 3 different triangles. The taxable triangle, those are your individual accounts, your trust accounts, brokerage accounts. You put that money in, and every year it's getting taxed. Then you got your tax deferred. That's what I was just talking about, IRAs, 401ks. You put that money in pre-tax, but when you take it out, it's taxable. And then you have the tax-free bucket. which is money that's never taxed. So we call that tax deferred bucket this ticking tax time bomb, because if you have an IRA and you want to go on a vacation and you want to take out $50,000, well, after taxes, you only are getting 40,000 bucks. Uncle Sam just took $10,000. But if you had a Roth IRA and you took out $50,000, you didn't have to pay Uncle Sam anything. You did that way long time ago. So you only get you get to keep that $50,000. And another thing, if you have too much income in retirement, your Social Security can be taxed. Up to 85% of your Social Security could be reported for tax at whatever your bracket's in.
Right.
And so that's why you got to get a handle on required minimum distributions, how those work, how that affects your IRAs and 401ks when you get older. And we have a lot of content on our YouTube channel about this that people can tie into and understand the different tax buckets, how RMDs work, all the things about taxes. So I definitely recommend people to go check those out.
Right. I would as well. Yeah, you're a great resource, Nick. And if anybody is creeping into that retirement red zone and has questions about this proactive planning and wants to talk through these strategies with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, just remember, it's not a scary point in time. Follow
No.
the rule of 55. Really, the rule of 55 is that if you're 55 years old, you should at least 55, you should have a financial plan. A lot of people wait too long. And so these types of things pop up. This is what our team has worked for. This is what we focus on. This is our niche, is helping people get to retirement, but then more importantly, through retirement, so they can have a work optional lifestyle and never have to ask the boss, can I have my job back? We don't want to do that. So easiest way is to reach out to us at 844-GROUP-10. 844-GROUP-10, and we can schedule a quick 15-minute strategy session call, just as almost like a checkup to see where you're at.
Yeah.
And if there's any red flags that exist. And like I said, there's our YouTube channel and our website, group10financial.com, where we're putting content up every week that people can tie into for free. And so I definitely increase your financial intelligence, and then reach out to us and we can help take everything full circle.
Great. All right, Nick, thank you.
Good being with you.